Welcome, one and all, to Pacific414 episode review. I am your host, Mike. In tonight's live edition of Pacific414 episode review, I'm gonna be reviewing episode 7 of Peacemaker, which was called "Stop Dragging My Heart." And at one point, this is a spoiler for how I actually thought of the episode, but at one point during Pacific414 episode review, at the same time I was reviewing season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, I was also reviewing season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I said that The Mandalorian was the tonic that one needed after watching an episode of Star Trek Discovery. Well, the reverse has happened. This time, Peacemaker is that tonic that everyone needs after watching the Book of Boba Fett, at least in my opinion. So let's get things started off here with our recap. And in this episode, Stop Dragging My Heart, we get a flashback to young Christopher Smith with his brother Keith, and they're rocking and rolling it. In the bedroom, they're listening to the 80s heavy metal, 80s rock music of the time, when this gentleman right here comes to the room and says, "Your father wants to see you two maggots right now." So that's exactly what they do. Let me pull up the next scene here, where those two maggots, well, they're having a pit fight. Pit fight arranged by August Smith and the group. And I've got the scene right here, so let me put it up on screen. And here we go. Here's the aforementioned scene where both Keith and Christopher are in this pit and they're having a fight. This guy in the middle, the referee, says no biting, no touching, no kicking, and then he says, "Oh, heck with it. We're having a no holds barred match." So Christopher and Keith start fighting with one another in this pit, and well, things go wrong, and they go wrong quickly. Christopher hits Keith. Keith hits the ground, and Keith starts having a seizure. Christopher is thinking, "Oh, he's doing the worm. Nothing is going wrong." And then August comes up to Keith, and Keith starts foaming at the mouth. "Hello, Padawan-a-bee. How you doing, brother? It's good to see you, man." "Oh, it's good to see you, brother." But what ends up happening is Keith is foaming up at the mouth, and Christopher's thinking that he's doing the worm when his brother starts having a seizure. August rushes down and trying to capture the precise moment. But anyways, August rushes down and he starts saying, "Keith, Keith, Keith." And Keith unfortunately passes away, and August looks back at Christopher and says to him, "You killed him, you son of a, female dog." So then we get to the next scene where Christopher, and before we do that, actually, let me just show this. This is where August is trying to wake up Keith, and Keith unfortunately has passed on. So we get to the next scene. Christopher's inside bathroom at the base, and he's having this flashback, and he's having a very difficult time because of everything that has gone on. And I am going to give John Cena credit. For anyone who knows me at all, You know that I have never been a big fan of John Cena from his days in WWE. But I have to give him credit here in this scene and throughout this entire episode, actually, for being able to evoke as much emotion as he did in this episode. So we see that, of course, Vigilante's knocking at the bathroom door saying, dude, you okay? You okay? And then, we have the opening credits. And next we see is another shot of the news conference where in this news conference, everything's being run down as far as who Christopher Peacemaker is and why it's so important that he is arrested. Of course, Vigilante is there, and Vigilante, the character doesn't quite understand what's going on. He is naive, to be perfectly honest, because at one point he calls the butterflies a bird, and this is where Christopher actually scolds him and says it's a bug. And what's Christopher's mission right now? Christopher's mission is to grab all his helmets, grab all his gear, all the guns, and go after White Dragon. Not only go after White Dragon, which actually does occur later. I kind of jumped ahead there. But he wants to go kill the cow. He wants to go kill the cow that's providing all the food for the butterflies. And of course, he puts them all in a duffel bag. Try to get to that scene. Doesn't want to cooperate. But he puts them all in a duffel bag, and then we get a shot of August and the White Dragon gang, and August is giving them rundown on his tablet saying this is where all the Peacemaker helmets are located. And how does he know it? Because he himself put a tracking device in each and every one of those helmets. So they are going to not only get the helmets, but they're also going to go after Chris, and they're going to kill him. And of course, John Economos shows up and it goes, "What are you guys doing?" And that's when Peacemaker says, "We're going to go kill a cow." So John Economos at first is very hesitant, and he even jokes with Peacemaker saying, "I thought you said you didn't have a diary." And that's when we find out that Chris knows that Abadiah planted the diary. So they all get into the truck and they start driving to where the cow is. Meanwhile, we put it up on screen. Hardcore and Abadiah are having an argument because Hardcore realizes that Abadiah planted the diary at Peacemaker's place and sold out one of their own. She says to Abadiah, Emily says to Abadiah, "Chris is one of ours. He's a fellow soldier. He's a friend, and you've betrayed him." And they have an argument, and Abadiah starts talking about how the only reason she took the job was because she lost her own job working with animals. So Emily and Hardcore, like I said, they have their argument. They say their piece. Abadiah leaves. And when Abadiah is getting ready to leave, Mern shows up and says, "Yeah, we got big problems here, folks. We've got real big problems because the butterflies are going after their amber, and we have to go and get the heck up out of here because our guy on the inside has been compromised. And Padawannabe is saying, let's see, thought this was hilarious that eagerly walking out was what made Economos give it. Yes, that was very good. And I mean, this whole episode, I've got to say, this whole episode was very good. Very good, very good. And I know what I said after episode 1 in my quick takes and episode 2 that I wasn't really liking it all that much. But I've got to say, this episode is very good. And let's see, we got Spock's Friday Night here. He says, Mike! And he says, love the new setup. Yep, just trying something new. I'm always going to try something new, change things up. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. But anyways, Mern shows up and says, we don't have to stay, but we got to get the heck up out of here. Because like I said, he tells them, Hardcore and Abadiah, that our man on the inside has been compromised. He is now a butterfly. Of course, Mern's a butterfly too, but he's fighting for the good guys. So this is when Abadiah finds out that Mern himself is a butterfly, and Emily Hardcore is so pissed she ends up leaving the room and telling Abadiah off. So then what ends up happening is we cut to this mini mart and we see these two guys get out of their car, and who do they run into? Because he wasn't there back at the base like he should have been. Nah. Even Hardcore says, where's Judo Master? Well, here's Judo Master at the mini mart, and he's eating his Cheetos. And Padawannabe says, if you can suspend your reality a bit and just have fun, you can enjoy the series. Yeah, and that's what I started doing. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Why is it after 7 episodes of Boba Fett, it just made me roll my eyes, face palm, you name it, and be so frustrated about this whole series from, episode 1. Yet this series, episode 1, like I said, I didn't like. Episode 2, episode 3 was but this series has grown on me. This series has improved. This series shows that it has heart. And spoiler alert, this episode definitely has heart. But anyways, these two guys poke fun at Judo Master, saying that he's nothing but a leprechaun. Stay away from me, Lucky Charms. Let's see. Padawannabe says, Nanu. I don't know if Spock's ever seen Mork and Mindy. I'll have to ask him. But anyways, these two guys, they make fun of Judo Master. They go into the mini mart. They're two young guys, cocky young guys. And Judo Master, he's not too pleased. This was the look on his face after they went into the mini mart. So you can see there, he's not too happy about them making fun of him for his size, for his stature. Meanwhile, trouble looms at the hotel as Emily is trying to contact Chris and say, we got to get a move on. All of a sudden, the cops show up. We try to... But anyways, the cops show up. Meanwhile, the ragtag group of Economos, Vigilante, and Peacemaker, well, they say it in this episode, there's no wrong time to rock. They're rocking as they're going to go to the location of this cow that processes the amber, the food for the butterfly. And what they don't know is that August and the White Dragon Gang are on to them. But, I even thought this scene was pretty good. And then, of course, we cut to the White Dragon Gang. There's one of the members. She's looking at the tablet because of the tracking devices, so she knows exactly where Chris, Vigilante, and John Economos are. And then we cut back to the group, and August spots him as he's flying above. Don't ask me how his suit is able to fly with the way it's designed. It's just one of those things where you have to suspend, all belief. But White Dragon, August Smith, crashes into the truck, and he, like I said earlier, is trying to kill Christopher Smith, his own son, who he does blame for the death of his other son, Keith. So after August knocks down the truck, he manages to pound at the side of the truck that's on the side of the road, opens up a hole, and tries to blast both Vigilante and Peacemaker, creating this other hole. Meanwhile, John is telling Peacemaker, we got to get out of here. So they end up running for it, and who can blame them? And meanwhile, Vigilante tries to give them enough time to escape and also be the hero. He is using a machine gun and shooting at White Dragon, but he also throws his grenade, which does go off. Doesn't do any damage to August, but it does do damage to Vigilante. So then Vigilante manages to hide behind a tree, and this is pretty much all the damage that White Dragon received from the blast. There you see it right there. And then we move forward as the group is going after Peacemaker because they want to kill him. They're all in it to kill him. And like I said, Vigilante is hiding behind a tree, and you can see that he took a lot of battle damage. So we move forward, and they're going into the woods. Meanwhile, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, the two guys that made fun of Judo Master at the mini mart, well, Judo Master ends up kicking their ass. Judo Master slams one guy into the driver's side window of his car, and then he slams this guy into the propane cage. And they're knocked out cold, and Judo Master is pleased with his work, but there's also someone else who's pleased with the work that Judo Master did. Try to get to it if I can. Let's see. I may not be able to. Here, let me just. This guy is very pleased with Judo Master's work. He gives him a thumbs up. He's like, way to go, man. Way to take care of your bullies. So Judo Master gets into the one guy's car, clears away some of the glass shards that are on the seat, and speeds off. And there you are. That's Judo Master driving away. Next, It goes back to the hotel where Mern is packing up his things, and he notices the police have shown up at the hotel. And what he does is he ends up tying a rubber band. I shouldn't say tying a rubber band, wrapping a rubber band around his walkie talkie. So Hardcore and Abadiah can hear what he's saying, and he's telling them, all right, the, the gig is up. I know I'm going to lose my life, but you two, along with Peacemaker, Economos, and Vigilante, have to finish the job. You have to finish the job at all cost. You have to destroy the cow that produces the amber. So the police come rushing up. Emily sees them, so she hides. And then she sees Abadiah. Let's try to get, yeah. She sees Abadiah and pulls her to where she's hiding under cover, and the police end up breaking through. Breaking through the door. Meanwhile, back in the woods, the White Dragon Gang they're still chasing Peacemaker, Economos, and Vigilante, but mainly going after Peacemaker because of the helmets. Well, at least they think. And the reason why I say that is because Peacemaker had the bright idea to wrap a piece of string connected to the helmet and wrap it around the tail of a raccoon. And this was a funny scene. Let me pull it up here once again. But this was a funny scene where Peacemaker says, "Man, these raccoons are hardcore." So, a little humor doesn't hurt. And of course, Eagly, he lands nearby because Peacemaker was trying to get everybody out of there. So let me transition so we can go to the next scene. And meanwhile, Vigilante takes one of the guy's cars because one of the White Dragon Gang left his keys in his cars, and as Vigilante is driving, he pulls off the side of the road and passes out after the blast from the grenade. So we flash forward, and this is where Mern is giving Hardcore and Abadiah their final instructions. And unfortunately, this is where Mern loses his life, and his butterfly ends up coming out of the now deceased human body. And just as he tries to fly away, the Queen grabs him and crushes him. She does end up killing him, but not before Hardcore and Abadiah are able to exchange their goodbyes to him. So this is where the Queen grabs Mern and she crushes him. She crushes the butterfly that was within him. And flash forward, and their goal now is to get rid of Abadiah, Hardcore, Economos, Peacemaker, and Vigilante. Abadiah and Hardcore go into the room. They see Mern's dead body, and then they see his butterfly. And this is where they say their final goodbye. The butterfly touches Hardcore's hand, and like I said, it's saying goodbye. It's a live long and prosper moment. I have been and always shall be your friend. So then, everybody who was there, meaning the hardcore and Abadiah, start freaking out because Myrn knew everything that needed to be known about how to find this cow and how to destroy it and where all the butterflies were. But there's a problem. Judo Master shows up and he starts fighting with both Hardcore and Abadiah. All hell is breaking loose. It's a hardcore match. It's a hardcore brawl. As things are broken and faces are bloodied. And then we cut back to the woods and we see more of the White Dragon gang as they're trying to track down Christopher. And yes, rest in peace, Myrn. And that's the thing about this series. Like I said earlier, I wasn't liking this series in the beginning, but I've grown to really appreciate it for what it is. And to lose a character like Myrn, you feel it because you are given a backstory as to what the person was before the butterfly inhabited this character that we get to know as Myrn. So it gives you a reason to care about the characters. So the White Dragon gang are still going through the woods. They do discover that Christopher has eluded them and he tied the string to the helmet around the tail of this raccoon. It's not Rocket, but it is a garbage panda. So then both Economos and Peacemaker end up finding Vigilante. Vigilante ends up scooting over so Peacemaker can get into the car. But there's a wee bit of a problem. And this is funny too. Eagle starts pecking at Economos as Economos is trying to get into the back seat. But the one catch is that the duffel bag that has the rest of the helmets, well, they're in the trunk. Right. A shot where it actually shows them. Anyways, the rest of the helmets are in the truck. Christopher gets them out of the trunk and has to turn around because he's got company. And he sees it. Yep, Chris is now being chased by the White Dragon gang. So he is now running for their life. John crawls back into the car and out of the car runs into Vigilante, who's relieving himself in the woods because he does mention before that scene that he has to go pee. There's a fight that ensues. Eagle starts using his talons and clawing the various members of the White Dragon gang. Unfortunately, Augie knocks Eagle out. You have Peacemaker yelling Eagle, and Eagle's on the ground. And in a fit of rage, Peacemaker gets up. He manages to tackle his father, White Dragon. They have a fight. And Augie starts telling him, how ashamed he is of having him as his son, that he blames him for the death of Keith. He, sided with the enemy, sided against the United States of America. And just when all hope seems lost, gotta get to it. Vigilante and Economos show up and help save Chris from certain death. And Chris starts beating on Augie, beating on his father, and saying it's because of you that Keith lost his life. It's because of you. Things are the way they are. And this is where Augie insults Chris, calls him a wuss. And then this is where Peacemaker is able to get a hold of a gun. He points it at his father, and shortly after this scene, I'm not going to show it, but shortly after the scene, he shoots his father in between the eyes and kills him. And then there's a real good moment where after he shoots and kills his father, Peacemaker breaks down because that's the last thing he wanted to do. That was the last resort type of deal. But of course, Vigilante, not understanding the situation, he says, dude, now's not a good time to do your face flexing technique. And Economos says, he's not doing his face flexing technique. He's crying, dumbass. So then we get to another scene where it's Abadiah and Emily. And real quick before we discuss that scene, Padawani says Vigilante is so awkward here. Yeah, he is. I thought he was awkward throughout the entire episode, to be honest. I mean, I realize they're trying to do that comic relief type of deal with Vigilante, but certain things he says in this episode, no sane person would say it. Otherwise, I'm surprised nobody in this episode smacks him upside the back of his head. But we have a scene where Abadiah and Emily are mending fences, and of course they're scared, they're frustrated, they're worried because Mern was the brains of the operation. He knew everything there is to know about what is going on with the butterflies, and now they don't have them. So after they help patch each other up, there's a scene where Abadiah explains why she is currently working with them. And that's when we find out that she used to work with dogs, she used to work with animals, and she lost her job. So Amanda Waller offered this job to her. So after they have their heart to heart, they end up going to this veterinary office where Peacemaker and Vigilante and Economos are at, because they took Eagly there after what happened in the fight with August and the White Dragon game. And Vigilante, well, Vigilante again is being an idiot. To say nothing else, but he's being an idiot. Yes, he does. She shows some real good capability against Judo Master. I mean, that fight was very good. It was very well choreographed, in my opinion. It was a very well choreographed scene. But Vigilante's being an idiot because he's pointing his gun at the vets and the nurses and saying, well, now we have to kill him. No, you don't have to kill him. And that's even what he's told by Emily. No, you don't have to kill him. And they start talking about what needs to be done. And this was a good scene here as Abadiah leaves the room. She walks down a hallway and she's walking down the hallway to call her wife. But this scene right here, like I said, I've got to give John Cena credit in this episode for being able to show a different range of emotion, you know, being there in the room and praying that Eagly would make a speedy recovery, full recovery, saying how he lost his brother Keith and he can't live without his best friend, and his best friend is Eagly, and how he shouldn't have left Eagly in his dad's garage for 4 years. He should have left it with a girl who, found him very attractive, but he had no interest in her. But maybe he would have, had second thoughts after he got out of prison. But the point in the scene was showing how much Eagly means to him. And let me try to get to the next part of that scene. So give me a second to do that. Let's see, just real quick. All right, come on. I almost got it. This goes back to the first episode where Christopher tells Abadiah that Eagly hugs him. This is good. This is very good that she actually gets to see it for herself. This is the moment where she is inspired, where she realizes that things can happen, special things can happen. This was a very cool scene. And, Padawannabe says the ego hug again. Yes, the selfish are hilarious. Yes, this scene cheered me up a bit with Eagly. I've always owned dogs. Well, see, that's the thing. For anybody who is an animal lover, who has had pets throughout their lives, you know what it's like. We all do. We all know what it's like to lose a pet. You're losing a family member. You're losing a friend. Whether they're your feathered friends or your fur friends, they're a friend. They're part of the family. And let's see what else. That's all right, brother. That's all right. But it's a good scene because Abadiah then calls her wife and says, "You wouldn't believe what I just saw. I just saw an eagle hug a human being." And she says, "I don't know if this is a sign from God or if it's just a sign to keep going, but it gives her that inspiration." So, this is where they're all meeting in the waiting room and saying, "What are we going to do now?" Mern knew everything there was to know about what's currently going on. Who's going to lead us? Well, John, being partially serious, partially funny, says, "Me?" And of course, he's told, "No, not you." And everybody starts looking at Emily. Let me try to get it. And she realizes that because she has been there from the start, she knows maybe not as much as Myrn knew, but just enough to get the job done, that they have to saddle up, lock and load. And I want to say hello to Tipstock. Welcome, brother. How you doing today? What's up? I'm giving my review of Peacemaker episode 7, which in my opinion was a very good episode. A very, very good episode. So they know what they have to do. And what's funny, if I can get to it, let's see, because we do get another scene, and we see the farm where this cow is at. But we get a funny moment as everybody is going over their strategy of what they're going to do. You know, it cuts back and forth between two different scenes. You get what's going on at the farm. You can see that they're unloading equipment so they can milk the cow and harvest the amber. And then we also cut to the gang as they're going through their strategy. And the thing I wanted to get to, as they're all, you know, ready and mounting up and ready to go. Well, see if I can back it up a little bit. Trying to back it up here just a little bit. There we go. Well, because the vet and the nurses are there, they overhear what's going on. Well, how could they not? They're right there in the room, and they volunteer to help, which I thought was funny too. You know, this episode had the humor where you needed the humor after, you know, some very, very deep moments, very heart hitting moments with Mern dying and then August dying. I mean, yeah, some might say, but it was August, but you have to understand it was also Christopher Smith's father. And the Padawannabe says, "You'll just die." The vet techs were ready for war. Yes, they were. And I found it funny, even rewatching this episode before going live for the review. I found myself laughing. But, you know, it's good. It's very good. So here, now, I don't know how I managed to do this. Most of the time when I try to get a shot like this, that's sort of poignant to the review, poignant to the episode, but this group shot of everybody going, all right, it's off to war. We know what we have to do. And they get into the veterinary clinic's RV. They drive away and they're headed to the farm. And as they drive away, the vets and the veterinary tech say, you know, they were pretty cool people. Yeah, but the guy in blue, he's got issues, meaning Vigilante. But this is where Abadide does try to apologize to Chris for planning the diary, but Chris doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He says, I just want to get this job done. So we go forward, and there's a good scene between Economos and Hardcore, because as you recall, in the episode where they go to the one warehouse and they discover where the amber's, you know, being filled into the jars, they discover the gorilla that has a butterfly in its head. Well, when they were in the truck, they were rocking out, and Hardcore wasn't having any of it. Well, in this scene, John here cranks up the volume and says, there's never a bad time to rock, which is very good. And I'm gonna try to get it where you can see her reaction. So give me a second. All right. And after Economos tells Hardcore there's no wrong time to rock, she smiles. She's like, yeah, you're right. It's time to kick some ass. So then we get to the underground cave, and we see the queen and her goons show up. And what are they looking at? Well, I'll show you. I'll try to get a good shot of it. Or back. Too far ahead, I mean. All right, let me just play it a little bit because there's no sound going. All right, come on. Let me take this away from the screen so I can get to the correct scene. But we see all this machinery, all these hoses, all these containers, and then we see the cow. This is the cow that they are all after. This is not your typical Earth cow. This is an intergalactic cow that was taken from one location and brought to Earth thousands of light years away. And they're gonna need some bigger guns. That's one big cow. So that's where the episode cuts off. And then, of course, we get the preview for next week's episode. And before I get my final thoughts on this episode, the Panda Wannabe says the cow does seem to look an awful lot like Mothra. Yeah. That's what Peacemaker was concerned about from the beginning. Yeah, he was. He definitely was. But I've got to be honest with you all. If I'm going to give you a score for this episode, my review score for this episode, it's a 5 out of 5. That's how good this episode is. And this is only the second series that I've been reviewing recently that has changed my mind on it as I've started watching it more and more. First one was Chucky, and now Peacemaker. Both series started off very low for me and just started getting better and better because, as the Panda Wannabe said, this is the kind of series where you do have to suspend, all sense reality, suspend disbelief and just enjoy it for what it is. And that's what I did. And I really enjoyed this episode. Again, this is a 5 out of 5. This is the first for Peacemaker, but I do highly recommend it. And if you ever, want to watch something and, get really invested into it and see that they actually give you a reason to get invested in it, then this is the show. Yes, there are some woke moments in it. I'm not gonna lie, there are some woke moments in it, but they also poke fun at the woke stuff too. So it's good. It's got a nice balance where, instead of being completely woke like everything is nowadays, it can actually poke fun at it, and that's what I like. I like a series that doesn't take itself too seriously. And you have writers, obviously, who, yes, they are aware of what's going on in current times. Yes, it is Hollywood, so we get what we get, but they're not afraid to poke fun at different things. So this episode's a 5 out of 5. And I know the other day you had asked me, Pat, I Wannabe, had I'd seen the episode. I hadn't, but after watching this episode, I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And I can't wait for that season finale. I really can't wait for that season finale just to see, how they wrap up this first season. Just like with Chucky, I couldn't wait to see how they wrapped up the first season of Chucky. And now I can't wait to see how they wrap up this first season of Peacemaker. And giving John Cena his due that he's not the best actor out there. I'm never going to say that he's an Emmy winning actor. He's not going to be an Oscar winning actor. And, he's not going to be one of those actors where you think of and you go, oh, yeah, he's a terrific actor. No, no. But in the scenes where he did have to show emotion, in this episode in particular, he did a good job. He really did. So, again, this episode is a 5 out of 5 for me. And I just can't wait to see what happens on Thursday. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do a live episode review on Thursday to cover the season finale. I'll know more depending on how schedule work out and everything. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Warner Brothers should be proud of this episode in particular. DC should be proud of this episode in particular. I know they're all under the same umbrella, but they really should. Thumbs up. Thumbs up to James Gunn. Thumbs up to the director of this episode. I think his name was Brad Anderson. But yeah, thumbs up to everybody involved leading up to this episode, because this series has proven that you just have to give it some time, and it was actually going somewhere, unlike the Book of Boba Fett. I know people are tired of talking about the Book of Boba Fett, but to me, the Book of Boba Fett was a letdown. This series, it's hitting its stride. It's got, its feet on the ground, it's got the tires on the road, on the pavement, and it's running. And I can't wait to review next week's episode, or I should say this week's episode. So that's going to wrap it up for this live edition of Pacific414 episode review. Hope you all like what you saw, and I hope you all give Peacemaker a chance. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, that's fine too. At least you checked it out and made your own opinion and didn't go by mine. So if you, again, could leave a thumbs up or leave a comment, I would greatly appreciate it. If you like this or any of the other content here on the Pacific414 YouTube channel, I would greatly appreciate your subscription. I do episode reviews, I do movie reviews, live gameplay. I try to do a variety of different things, shorts. So thank you all very much. Have yourselves a great rest of your Monday evening. And also, I want to say thank you to Tim's Talk. Thank you for stopping by, brother. I also want to thank Padawannabe for stopping by. Thank you very much. I also want to thank Spock's Friday Nights. Thank you very much, brother. Really appreciate it. I highly recommend this series to you too, Spock. And I'm sure if you talk to the Padawannabe, he would recommend it too. And Tim, I highly recommend this series to you. I recommend this series to everybody because of where it's gotten to at this point, and because I'm looking forward to watching the season finale and seeing what they do. So again, great job to everybody involved, and great job to anybody who was like me and at first was like, oh, I don't know about this series. I really don't know. And then we've just stuck around and we've actually gotten something that we can enjoy. And yeah, not take too seriously. So hope you all have a good night. And until next time, take care.